Hello everyone, welcome to this week's episode of The Classroom. This is the final episode of The Classroom. More on that later. We're going to talk a little bit about everything that's happened on the show throughout both seasons that I've had it on the Rutgers Camden radio station. So happy about that. But before we get to that, I want to kick off an interview with the Peer Tutoring Board, Leah and Presley. Thank you so much for coming on. And really, I just kind of wanted to bring you guys on to talk a little bit specifically about the CLASS Peer Tutoring E-Board. Just kind of introduce it, talk a little bit about what you guys plan to do this semester, and then we're going to get into some topics specifically related around like academic success, specifically how to navigate challenging courses, because I feel like right now is about the time where things get really rough for students. I know like last semester for me, this is right around the time where I started like losing my mind. So I kind of want to talk a little bit about that and get your perspective as the tutoring e-board on, that experience. And so before we get into all that, maybe for anyone who hasn't, met you before, had a tutoring session with you, could you introduce me a little bit to, who you guys are and what you tutor? I'll start with you, Walia.
Yeah, definitely. So hello everyone, my name is Walia Rahman and I am a current senior. So this is my last semester at Rutgers Camden. I'm a biology and Spanish major with minors in chemistry and Latin American studies, and currently I tutor biochemistry, organic chemistry, and Spanish.
Awesome, thank you.
Hi, I'm Presley. So I am a biology major, but I'm thinking about switching. I'm currently a sophomore. I'm thinking of switching to psychology or childhood studies. And last semester I tutored chemistry, calculus, and then intro to college algebra. And then this semester I'm tutoring methods and theory in psychology, intro to college algebra, and then one other that I forgot.
Yeah, no, you're tutoring a lot of classes, so I don't blame you. And just tell me a little bit about, we can go back and forth on this, just about the e-board, why you guys wanted to join it, and kind of, what you hope to get out of bringing a group of tutors together to kind of function as like, a pseudo student org to really kind of connect with students in that way.
Yeah, so I think like with the peer tutors, we wanted to foster a greater sense of community. And then also we wanted to build upon what we already have and then reach to more students on campus to showcase what peer tutoring offers and what CLASS offers.
Yeah, and also just to add to that, I think one of our biggest goals is to make tutoring more like interactive with the students. So
Yeah.
It's not just, come out for tutoring sessions, but really get to know the tutors. Because I feel like when you go asking for someone for help, the more comfortable you are with them, I feel like the better your session is also. So it's just an opportunity for people to get to know us, get to know the tutors. But we also hope to bring on more workshops just to make it as interactive as we possibly can.
Yeah, I really like that. That's something, when I heard the idea kind of coming about, that made me really happy, because I think that's exactly, especially after, doing the last season of the classroom, that's what I heard a lot from students and even from professors, is that they wanted more just hands-on, like experiential learning opportunities, getting to know actually who students are and really be able to connect in that way. And that kind of leads into my first question. As I mentioned, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about specifically how to navigate classes that are difficult or challenging, or maybe they just, aren't, in your comfort zone. Do you think that having like an interactive learning environment is an important part of that? And if so, how do you kind of, from a student perspective, how do you kind of seek that out?
I definitely think an interactive environment is important. I know for a lot of my challenging classes, sometimes I feel like as students we're a little hesitant to ask for help.
Yeah.
But I think that's why we have like tutoring available. But also I really recommend going to any like group study sessions or when teachers have, office hours, just to ask for help, because with a lot of these challenging classes, if you fall behind, it's really hard to catch up afterwards.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure, like, as the concepts are going, anything tricky that comes up, make sure you find clarity on that in the beginning, so it's not something that lingers later on.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. Yeah.
For me, the most challenging classes I've had for biology, I have not been interested in, so that's why I'm thinking about switching. So with that, it does really help to have a support system around you. I find that really, like, having good study strategies and listening to your professors and adjusting or accommodating to what their teaching style is really important too.
It's interesting, because I relate in the sense that the classes that I was least just personally interested in were the ones that I struggled the most. What mindset or what kind of strategies would you recommend for someone who they need this class for their major, they couldn't care less about it, and they're not interested in the course? How do you navigate that? Have you encountered that, when you are tutoring someone where they're just like, this class is not for me? Like, how do you help navigate them through that process?
I think just like taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture. This is just one class and many credits. We all have to do things we don't want to do, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
But just keeping your focus on the bigger picture and your end goal is really helpful.
Yeah, like would you say that keeping that end goal in mind and having a clear sense of not just where you're at now, but where you're going, like as a student after graduation, do you think that kind of plays a part in staying motivated to maybe get through those classes that are challenging you?
I do. For me, I'm not entirely sure what I want to do, so I think it's more just being interested and open to new ideas and new classes is really important.
And I think sometimes these classes might also surprise you. Like, you might initially feel like you're not interested in them, but like if you actually pay attention, maybe there's something that'll catch your attention, and maybe you'll want to like explore more in that field. So I think just give yourself the opportunity to take these classes, and you never know what might come out of that.
And I think like getting peer tutoring is a great way of starting with that, especially because it's already another student, so you already have that.
Yeah.
You already have that connection there, and I think it just helps making things more interactive, make the the situation a little bit easier. And do you think that as a tutor, and I used to be a tutor, not for too long, but I know for me at the very least, when I would have students come in, I would find that a lot of times their performance directly correlated with their level of confidence as a learner. Does that sound accurate to you? And if so, like someone who's not confident in themselves as a learner, what strategies or mindsets would you recommend to help them kind of build that confidence?
I think that like a lot of the times we don't really know, like you'll hear this a lot from certain professors that we don't know how to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And that's true. I think that you need to definitely put in the work for sure. Not everyone is going to be stellar student naturally.
Yeah.
Like for me, I have put in a lot of work. I'm sure Lila has also put in a lot of work. So it's just reframing your mindset to not what you can't do, but what you can do.
Yeah.
And working on that.
And I also think like confidence is very important. Like I know for a lot of students who are in like science majors, and I know I struggled with this too, was like sometimes anxiety really creeps up on us, and that's when you kind of have to like take a step back, because you might have studied a lot for an exam and you put in the work. Now you get to like the exam and your nerves creep up on you. You get like kind of sweaty, and
that's a big one.
Yeah, and like even though you know all the information, because you're in that setting now, like you kind of forget things. So I think in moments like that, it's just really important to take a step back and kind of give yourself like positive affirmations that you put in the work, you know what you know, and now it's time to just like show what you know. That's kind of what I go into an exam thinking, is like, okay, this is not really like testing me, but it's really just myself, like it's a chance for me to show how much I actually know. So I feel like changing that mindset is like, it's a good way to do things.
That's a really good framing of it too. I remember one thing that used to help me is I would try to schedule it so that I could do this, but I would study really hard, and then the day before I wouldn't touch it. I would pretend like it wasn't even there. And that really helped me kind of just clear my mind, because I think at times if you like practice, there is such a thing as over practicing, and then you start messing yourself up. But yeah, like test taking, it is a skill, and I think that's definitely something that I think can maybe play into, like say for example you don't do as well on an exam as you thought you did, but you spent all this time studying, but having that results oriented based thinking, it's like, well, the grade says that I got this, but I know really I got a C grade, but I'm an A student or a B student, but I wasn't in the right headspace. What other, like, Press, I'd love to hear from you as well, like in terms of like actual test taking tips and strategies, even if it's something simple, what kind of helps keep you fresh, kind of like you alluded to in the beginning there?
Well, talking about the anxiety, I definitely struggle with anxiety just throughout my life.
Yeah.
I think that, well, for me, studying is more about reading and doing flashcards. I think that helps, but I get a lot of anxiety about just studying, like in the process of studying. So I'll push it off, and then I'll get more anxious.
Yeah.
So I think
I've
just
been there.
doing it and starting where you're at and being comfortable with where you're at and then building from there is really important.
Yeah, schedule a study buddy session, right? That's a really easy way to just kind of at least get going in a particular subject. And I also find that once you start like just returning back to the fundamentals and you get to understand that really well, it can help the complicated stuff seem a little less complicated because you have like a good basis. But kind of on that note, in terms of just kind of like that results oriented thinking of like, oh, I got this grade, this means I'm this. I didn't get this grade, this means I'm that. I kind of want to switch this topic, and I asked this to the success coaches last week, but I want to hear from student perspective. One thing that I found, and I think is a pretty big issue, or at least it's definitely a factor in the college experience right now, is the fact that on social media you're constantly surrounded by people's successes, failures. People are telling you, do things this way, live this way, plan your week that way, study this way. There's so many voices out there, and when you see all these different versions of success and failure, it can be difficult to figure out what actually works for you. And so my question is, have you had experience with that? And if so, have you found ways to kind of overcome it, or would you, what would you recommend to people to kind of just maintain that kind of mental clarity? It's kind of tied back to anxiety, but that mental clarity that's important to figure out for yourself. That was a mouthful there. But
yeah, I think this goes back to like first identifying like what type of learner you are, because like you said, on social media, and like when I was studying for the MCAT, I think this was like a big thing, was I would always see like YouTube videos or like Instagram or TikToks of like how people were studying for the exam, or if they didn't do so well on a practice exam, what that meant and stuff.
Yeah.
But I realized that like my studying strategies might be very different from somebody else's. So just because someone's doing something in a way that's working for them, it might not work for you, and that's okay. Like that doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. You just have to be able to identify like what type of learner you are. So I feel like that's like the first step to take.
I think outside of school too, there's a lot of pressure to be and do certain things and look perfect, and it's just not. Like this year for me honestly has been the most challenging year. I've been extremely busy every day, and I just take it day by day, and I try not to think about other people because I know I'm in my own life and this is what I'm doing.
And yeah, like what you see on social media a lot of times is only like a glimpse into somebody else's life.
Yep.
So you might see someone being able to put like their full attention and time into like studying or prepping for an exam, but like compared to you, you might have other obligations, you might have work, family, things like that. So in terms of that, it's never good to compare yourself because you don't know, like your circumstances might be completely different from somebody else's.
I always used to think of when I was studying, those like, I'm sure you've seen them on YouTube where it's like the people where it's like, study with me for 12 hours, and it's just like, I'm like, I can't do that. And if you're doing that, then what are you not doing that's getting left behind? Like sometimes you don't have that capacity. I think that's a really good way to put it. And when it comes to kind of defining what your learning style is, how do you help, even just assist people, students that you're tutoring, kind of figure out what might be working? Like, is it a way that you communicate or adjust how you present the information? How do you start that process?
Yeah, I think it's what you said, like presenting the material in different ways and asking problems in a different kind of question, and then seeing like how they've prepared and if that has worked or not.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, she covered it.
Yeah. And once someone kind of understands, maybe for example, like there's a good session, they've learned a lot of material, and maybe they find a style that works for them. One big thing too is also being able to retain that information and then replicate it and work at it on your own. What suggestions would you give to students to be able to take the information that you had from the tutoring session and actually, not forget it in an hour or in a week, or maybe they don't have time to schedule another session? How do you kind of take that information and retain it?
I think scheduling helps. Like, I use my notes, like it's very unfancy, but if you have like a calendar or something like that, and just schedule like an hour, like maybe once a day or something like that, just to review. Or if you don't have that time, like a couple days before, maybe schedule like 3 hours just to get it in.
Yeah,
I definitely think like reinforcing material is very important. This kind of goes back to the point I made in the beginning, where it's like if you fall behind, then it's very hard to like catch up later on. So you want to make sure, like Presley was saying, like schedule time to review your concepts so you aren't like stressing the day before, an hour before an exam to make sure you know everything.
Yeah, that's a good way of doing it too. I should have done that more when I was a student. And I want to kind of take a pause from some of the academic conversation just for a minute and give people the opportunity to learn a little bit about the both of you. You guys will be around campus a lot as part of the E-Board, but also before even on the E-Board, you guys were both very involved in your student organization, very involved on campus. So could you each tell me, I know this wasn't in the notes, but I figured people should learn a little bit about like your orgs in the past and what you're doing now, because you guys are still both parts of orgs. Are you still a part of the org? Yeah, I was gonna say, I know you've always been a part of a lot of orgs. But yeah, could you just share a little bit about that side of you as well?
Yeah, so currently I'm the president of the Muslim Student Association on campus, and I actually joined my sophomore year. I was the PR, and then last year I was also president, so this is my second year as president. And I would say that's been an amazing like experience for me, like finding that like community of like other Muslims who might be experiencing similar challenges as you, especially navigating through college itself is a challenge, but then also being able to balance that with like your personal beliefs and boundaries and things all like that. So I feel like being a part of MSA has really been incredible for me, but also being a leader, I think you're sometimes like the voice for other students.
Yeah.
So I think that's really incredible, just knowing that you have that. I almost see it like an honor to be in this position, to kind of be a voice for other students. And I think being able to have that apart from academics is great, because sometimes I'll be very stressed out with my academics, but I have like MSA to fall back on, and I'll do things like planning meetings or planning events, and I think having that creative outlet has been really fun for me.
That's awesome. That makes you so happy that it's like being really fulfilling for you. That's great.
So before, like last year or last semester, I was the stand-in president of the Pre-Vet Club, which is now the Animal Science Club. And then I took a step back from that. I'm vice president of operations and programming of Delta Phi Epsilon sorority. That, I think people have a lot of misconceptions, especially on this campus. We are a small campus, it's a commuter campus. A lot of our members work and stuff like that, and we're all very busy. It's more a sense of community. I'm actually planning an upcoming fashion show, which has been a lot of work. Yes.
When's the fashion show?
February 29th at 7 p.m.
Great. And where is it?
NPR.
Awesome, NPR. Mm-hmm. Sorry, continue.
And that has been very rewarding. It's very challenging a lot of the times, like overseeing a lot of different areas of the sorority and maintaining a sense of community, but it has been, like I said, very rewarding.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think you guys are going to be like great for the E-Board specifically for that reason, because you guys have a lot of experience being really plugged into the campus, and I think you can bring, when you think of a peer tutoring E-Board, you're kind of like, what are we doing? Like, are we just sitting and studying? Is it like every event? Like, it doesn't have to be that way. And I think that bringing that kind of that social and community aspect into, creating like fun events that, everyone can do on campus together, even if it's like hosted in the class office, even if it's learning centered, there's still ways that can really, be really fulfilling for students. And I think that you guys are going to bring a lot to that. So it's really exciting. And I wanted to give people a chance to know, like, what else do you guys do? Because you guys are all over campus. Yeah. And honestly, there's a couple of other questions that I had. One of which is just specifically like in the tutoring session, the tutoring process. In that 60 minutes, sometimes there's a lot to cover, and that's something that I think I also like when I didn't get a lot of time to really get real good at being a tutor. Like I just I started out, and I would personally struggle with like, how do I manage getting all the students coming in? It's like, I have all of this work, I have all these assignments, how do I condense it into 60 minutes and send them off with the most important information? How do you kind of handle a student who maybe needs a lot more help than what you can just provide? Like, what other resources do you give to them? And how do you just manage that as tutors yourselves?
Well, I think first during the session, I kind of asked them to give me a list of like things that they're struggling with.
Yeah.
And then we look for like patterns that maybe are similar in different concepts. So I know, okay, we can start with this like chunk of material first and then go from there. And I usually like to start with like the most challenging thing first that they're having the most trouble with.
Yeah.
Just so I know we've covered that, and then later on we can go into things that they maybe feel more comfortable with, because I know if I leave them with that, then that's something they already have a grasp on. Whereas like the other things I want to cover first to make sure I can help them in the best way I can.
Yeah, that's good.
I think, office hours for professors is also really helpful. I know I think students tend to be a little scared of professors. At least I didn't realize that my freshman year, but I think this year I've been hearing a lot more that students are scared to talk to them or scared to go up to them. And I think just even if you are scared and even if you don't take anything away, at least the professor knows your name and, you know, can work with you in the future. But besides that, there are more student success programs on campus. I forget what they're called.
Got the Success Coach office. We've got over at the Annex, the Learning Specialist, Jonice, and the Peer Academic Coaches. There's a lot of other resources in there. But one thing, too, that I want to mention about office hours, because I also experience this, it's like they'll tell you, oh, I'm available for this 1 hour. And it's like, but there's a lot of times if you email them and ask them, they're able to work something out with you, even if it's not the hour that's on the syllabus. I know for me, a lot of times it was just either being lazy or exhaustion. I was just like, I don't feel like reaching out. And I think, you know, I've done this in a couple of times, but if I had done it more, like even just saying like, okay, maybe this hour doesn't work for my schedule, but is there any way we can work around it? Typically they're able to work with it. So I'm glad you mentioned that. And on kind of like scheduling and time management, you mentioned, you know, how busy you are. I know you're crazy busy as well. How do you manage that side of just being a student, managing your tutoring responsibilities, both of the, you know, the orgs that you guys are involved in? How do you just like stay afloat, really? Because I think a lot of students, that to me, time management and stress management are like, they're top of the list in terms of the actual things that students should be working on. So how do you guys handle that?
I think having hobbies is very, very important, and I always say like there should be something that you look forward to like every day. Like for me, it's as simple as like making coffee in the morning. 'Cause I'm a really big like coffee person. Like I love iced coffee, but that's just something that I look forward to, and that honestly like it's very simple, but it just kind of sets the tone for the rest of my day. So having something that you look forward to in every day could be something as small as that, or it could be like hanging out with friends for a few hours. Just something to take your mind off of like your academics, and then when you get back to it, you kind of come back with a fresh mind. So having just something to kind of relieve that stress is really important.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I think having a good support system also is really important. Sorry. For me, I don't want to like make it seem like I'm perfect and have it all figured out, because I definitely don't. But
Same here.
that's one of the biggest things that I found, is having people to talk to and like work through things and support you.
I think too, on that note, I think what's helpful too is having a support system with a variety of different perspectives, including in like level of experience. Like for me, if I was really stressed about a class or even something personal that I was going through, or just anything, like I had my friends, but then I also had people who were a little bit older than me, whether it was like a mentor or even like, you know, an alum, or even sometimes it might have even been someone over at the class office who's, you know, like they graduated a while ago and they've been through this whole process and they're really familiar with just the ins and outs of the campus. I think that's a really good thing to have too, because it helps kind of fill in the gaps. Because like I know when I was a student, I would have my support system of friends, but we were also all stressed at the same time. So it was good to get like some outside perspective as well. But I think both are like equally as important. So yeah, thank you for mentioning that. And just really kind of to wrap up, is there anything in particular for either of your orgs? I know you mentioned the fashion party. Is there anything else that you want to bring up, shout out? I know we have the multicultural fest coming up.
I was going to talk about that. The Multicultural Festival is Saturday, March 2nd. You guys should all come out to that. There's a bunch of, I don't know exactly how many organizations are a part of that. I think maybe like 14.
There's so many.
So there's a lot of orgs that are a part of that. And we're all going to have like, the theme is Carnival Game Night. So we're going to have like games set up, and there's performances, food. It's going to be a great event. Definitely look out for that.
How many people? I meant to ask you, how many people are going to be there? Because like I'm one of the performers, I should know this.
I think last year there were like 270 something people.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people that came out.
Wow, that's awesome.
And
That's
then
so
just
fun.
another event for MSA. So we have like Ramadan, which is starting, which is the month where Muslims fast. So we have our annual like Ramadan community iftar on March 19th. So that'll be in the evening as well.
Awesome, awesome. Anything else other than the fashion party coming up?
I just wanted to expand on the fashion show. So it is body positive. It's promoting inclusivity and diversity, and then all proceeds will be donated to ANAD, which supports eating disorder awareness and people who have an eating disorder. We are also partnering with the Animal Science Club for a little cat cafe later, and then we're doing some more events later on. But yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. Thank you for sharing a little bit more about the e-board. We have a lot of plans, a lot of exciting things coming up. And so I can't wait to see what you guys do with that. And thank you for just sharing a little bit more about you. Thank you for being the first time on the classroom, because I know you're returning. Thank you guys both for coming on. And thank you for also just like providing a little bit more perspective on how to just navigate challenging courses and just keep your head above water, because that's, I think, really what, especially as you go into midterms right now, that's, I think, what's on students' minds the most. It's just like, okay, I might have started off the semester well, or maybe I didn't, but like now, how do I rebound and keep things going? So thank you guys for sharing that. I'm excited to see what else you guys do this semester. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this interview. Gonna do a couple of music selections and then close out the show. Gonna run a little bit longer closing out the show because I have a lot to say. I'm really appreciative of everything that I've been able to do with the show, all the guests that have come on, so definitely stick around for that, and I'll let you know of a couple of upcoming events as well. But for now, stay tuned for a couple of music selections. Thank you guys so much for coming on, and head to their events, get connected with the e-board. You'll be seeing a lot more of them soon, and I will see you in a couple minutes. Just gonna play a couple songs. Stay tuned. And that's it. That concludes the classroom. I can't believe, honestly, how far that the show has gone since the original iteration of it, which was literally just me reaching out to people, interviewing them in the Armitage hallway right outside of the class office in 231 on the second floor. And it has expanded into something that I really truly do feel has brought a positive impact to the campus. I've talked with so many different people, so many different backgrounds, so many different students, faculty, staff, and that is all due to you guys. And some of you that are listening were on the show and told other people that they should come on the show or that they should tune in, and that makes me really happy, because honestly, this was something that truly just came out of an idea to bring people together, specifically, obviously, to get, peer tutoring and to get academic support, but that's really the whole purpose of class at all, is to help students, to bring the campus together. And we do that obviously through providing academic resources, but it's called the Center for Learning and Student Success, and part of student success is bringing together people from all different backgrounds, helping to share different ideas of ways to improve the campus, learning strategies, study strategies, and so much more about what's going on campus. Last season, we had a lot of different organizations come on and talk specifically about what they would like to see improved on campus. Just so many different conversations that we've had, and while I'm sad to see it go, I think it's been a really, really just incredible journey. And now I'm going on to my next journey. The reason behind the ending of the show, semi-prematurely, in the middle of the semester, is I got another job opportunity that I'm taking. So I'm moving on, heading on to, a different situation, which I'm very excited about. But I'm just as, gutted and, crushed to be leaving, this studio, all the incredible people that I've met here, all the incredible people that I've worked with at the Center for Learning and Student Success. It's just been a really, really great experience. And honestly, it's something that I couldn't have possibly predicted. I couldn't have told you that the show would continue to just get better and improve and get bigger even after I graduated. And I'm really grateful for that, honestly. I truly am. And so thank you all for listening so much. And really just all the other shows that, come on, definitely follow RUC_WCCR, support them. They're going to be posting a program list soon, or they might have already. I'm not 100% sure, but follow the Instagram for updates, because there are so many shows by so many great people. What's going on here in the studio is really, truly something special. And I just think it really kind of illustrates just how special of a student body we have. And it's been a pleasure being a part of the student body and bringing a lot of people on, all throughout each season of the classroom. So thank you so much for just being on this journey with me. And no matter what you're going through, what's going on for the rest of the semester, what your goals are, anything like that, just remember to keep going, believe in yourself. We were talking last week with the success coaches about that idea of what is success, and how do you help find that, and what it is for you. And I remember success coach Chris basically, he was saying, as long as you set a goal for yourself and you stay true to that goal, and Shanti was like, as long as you stay true to yourself and you keep making forward progress, that's what success is. And so if there's anything that I could say to kind of close out the show as, just kind of like parting words to finish the show, that's what the show is about, and that's what I want to encourage you guys to keep doing more of, is whatever that goal is, whether it's simply just finishing out the semester, whether it's, graduating a particular major, getting a job, whether it's personal stuff, pursuing, a side hobby, a side career, anything. Forward progress is success. And I feel like with this show, it constantly progressed, and now I'm headed forward into something else, and so I'm really happy to be leaving it in this space. Again, it's bittersweet, but I really truly do feel that I did a great job with the show, and I'm proud of that, and I feel like everyone who came on was a massive part of that, every single guest. And with all that said, right, the Center for Learning and Student Success still goes on. Tutoring is still full throttle, full force. With the E-Board is going to be taking over some of the things that I would kind of do and organize and coordinate on campus. And so stay connected with the Center for Learning and Student Success. Armitage 231, download the Navigate app. They were a pivotal part in my success here on campus. So get plugged in with every single office that we have in there, from the tutoring center and getting academic support there, the success coaches, TRIO, EOF, over in the class annex on 311 Cooper Street, Joe Neese, the Office of Learning and Support, Craig Roscoe, every single one of the peer academic coaches. I could keep going on and on and on. The resources here there's so many of them. And so, if you came to know some of those resources and some of the people on campus through this show, keep following up with them. Keep, building new relationships with them, because they're there to help you. So even though the show is ending, there are so many more opportunities to connect with people and receive that academic support and help continue to build that community. So with all that being said, again, thank you so much for tuning in. Closing out right here. Been very, very grateful to have you here as host of the classroom. And for the final time, that is a wrap. Have a great rest of your day. Great week. Have a blessed one. Bye.